My name is Sheridan from Armory. I'm the chief gunsmith here.
Hello on the interwebs. My name is Thomas Doyle. I'm also a gunsmith here at Armory. And we have something here to take a look at.
Yeah. We've been tinkering with a lot of the bullpup stuff lately, and I'd love to do, I don't know if finances will permit, but I'd love to have one of all the big major contenders. And today we've got the Arak-21 from Faxon. So generally how it works for ARs, in order for them to cycle, you need a buffer tube, buffer spring, buffer tube, and the bolt goes to the rear, that's where it goes. That's kind of inconvenient if you're trying to bullpup it. So what a lot of companies have done, they're probably not to make it bullpup, but it also allows it to be bullpup, is they shorten everything. Generally there's like a spring specifically inside the upper receiver that acts as a buffer spring and keeps everything self-contained.
They essentially flip the mechanism so that all the stuff that would be contained back in here is now contained up in here in the top of the receiver.
Yeah. So there's a lot of pros and cons to that. Pros, you can do tiny boy, small gun. Some of the big cons, though, this thing's heavy as shit.
Now, that will make the lower lighter, because now the lower doesn't have the buffer in it.
Correct. Now, another con is manual of arms, but that's just get used to it. Get good, kid. Instead of racking back from the rear, you're racking up on the left, which is where all frickin' charging handles should be anyway. That changes things up a little bit, but it's just get used to it. This is made in competition with something like the Jackal, the PSA Jackal, the Brownells BRN 180, and the Foxtrot Mike FM15. We'll see how it does in comparison to those other three, but price-wise, it's losing. This direct from Faxon is already $1,000. Just the upper, just this is $1,000. Whereas the FM15 starts at $600. Now I could have like barrel lengths and calibers a little bit different, but roughly around $600 for the FM15, a little bit less than that. The Jackal upper is about $800, and then the BRN 180 is about $900. I'd love to get my hands on a BRN 180, especially after like the Gen 2s have been, hooking and jabbing over in the Ukraine right now. I hear nothing but good things about those from the guys actually utilizing it the way it's supposed to be utilized. And for the Jackal, like I put, a quick burst through a Jackal just the other day, and it just didn't move, and that was super impressive. So I'm hoping that this will be something very similar.
We don't know if it's any better than the other guns. We'd have to do a side-by-side comparison and figure out what this thing has that those guns don't.
Now, I'm not the most well-versed with Faxon. We've had small conversations. We bought this with our own money, so to me, and they make great barrels. They make excellent barrels. In fact, we installed one on the other upper that we did, the Foxtrot Mike. Great barrels. Does that translate to great product overall? Because I bet you the barrel in this thing is great, but I don't know about everything else. We'll see. But this is sort of like a Apple comparison. It costs like $7 to make a fucking iPod. But they charge $9.99 because they can. And obviously there are markups and stuff like that. But things, if you've seen companies make like an iPad or an Apple computer, they make a laptop that's just flat out better. All the specs are better, yet it's half the price of a MacBook. So maybe, I don't think so. It's definitely not that egregious, but we'll see.
So this particular system is dramatically more compact. Which caliber?
It's
This is 5.6 NATO. What's the barrel length on this?
12.5.
12.5. Yeah. A lot of people like those real short barrel lengths just because it makes the weapon dramatically smaller, and thus dramatically easier to maneuver around with. This is also a big rail. That's freaking thick.
Yeah.
This is a heavy rail, which it adds a lot of weight to the gun, but it also means it'll be very durable.
And it won't get hot as fast.
Yeah, it'll deal with absorb and dissipate heat dramatically easier. That's pretty easy to do.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that you can fold it out of the way, grab a bit of it. The other advantage of this, which is kind of a problem with the original AR-15, because the charging handle is back here, it's actually kind of awkward to cycle an original AR-15 if it's in your shoulder. This thing, having the charging handle up here, you can always work it. And it sticks out, I wish it stuck out just a little bit further, because if you get right on it, your finger's rubbing right on that bit, right there. Your knuckles sliding right along there if you grab right on it. But this rail is just screwed in right there. So you could literally just take that rail right off and have this side of it cleared. And you could have your lights or lasers mounted here, wherever else you wanted to put it. Or if you were lefty, it does appear that this charging handle is reversible, and you can do the same thing on the opposite side. So it does look like it's very modular in that respect, like you can change it. And it actually looks like the ejection port is also reversible. What is this?
Yeah, that's a good point.
The only reason to have that cut is for it to be an ejection port. There's literally no other reason to have that. There's a groove right in there, and it's got the same groove duplicated on the other side.
And if you look,
I think it's reversible.
if you look on their diagram, it does not have that.
So you think that's a new feature since they made that diagram?
Yeah, looks like it. Well, I'm gonna take a look at the actual listing on their website.
You would flip the bolt around probably. Most likely you can just reverse the bolt, put it in essentially backwards, where instead of mounting it this way, you mount it this way. And then it'll kick the shells in the opposite direction. Because it does, looking at the bolt looks to be identical on the top and bottom. And it has two ejectors. Yeah, look at the bolt.
Well, that's just
It's got two
that's a
ejectors.
common thing that people do nowadays. Like, for example, we have an AR chambered in 7.62 by 3.9, and it's having a bitch of a time ejecting. It'll extract just fine. It'll cycle just fine until it gets to the ejection, and sometimes it just doesn't kick it out with enough oomph. So having dual ejectors makes it big sprite.
I also like this. I like this adjustable gas block that they have in there.
Long
It looks like it's designed to operate with a bullet. You literally just take a bullet out of the magazine. There's a hole right there in the top of it. You stick the nose of the bullet in there, and then you've got a lever that you can use to crank that gas port. It's especially important if the gun's getting dirty or if you're putting suppressors on it. Because you generally want a completely different amount of gas coming back into the gun if you have a suppressor on the system. Because the suppressor changes the pressures inside of the thing fairly dramatically.
So now, I don't know if this specifically allows for left-handed fire, but it does specifically state on their website with the Model 39 8-lug bolt design and volute profile for both right and left-handed versions. The extractor is positioned at 3 o'clock. This allows for a left-handed version to use the exact same bolt simply by removing the cam pin and rotating it 180 degrees and reinstalling it, which is exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
I just don't know if the receiver is set up for that. And it does not mention it on their website, which would lead me to believe that it is not. Because they like talking about all the cool little talking points. Every extra second that you spend utilizing a tool is more money that the thing costs. So while we're talking about how, that iPod only cost, like $70 or whatever to make, yeah, absolutely, because they invested so much money on the tooling to make it and make it that cheap. So now they're finally getting back what they've put into it. So if you go to change the tooling and go to change the cutting processes and stuff like that between models, that costs time and it costs money, and you have to pay somebody to do that. So if you just set the machine up to do one specific thing, it's going to do that one thing indefinitely until you give it different orders. But it costs money to give it different orders. For example, if you look at like left-handed bolt-action rifles versus right-handed bolt-action rifles, it would make sense to just do a slot on the left side of the receiver, and it's just essentially a swappable part. That makes sense. But no, just if you're wrong-handed, you just pay an extra $200, $300, $400 for a left-handed action.
I don't think you could make a bolt action
swappable
like that. I don't think you could do that.
Well, nobody's
the
done
slot
it,
you would have to cut into the receiver would be a really big slot, and it would significantly weaken that side of the receiver.
Yep.
I don't think you could do that.
Yep. One thing that they do that I really, really appreciate is a folding charging handle. The Jackal has a bolt stud, which is also really nice, but it's only that one size. The Foxtrot mic is still just fine. And I mean, we saw it running, it works great. And then the BRN, they have something really interesting where they have, in the Gen 3s at least, they have a reciprocating charging handle, and it's actually, if I remember correctly, right here on the receiver. And it's got some weird Swiss design, like rubber gasket seal system that seals around the charging handle as it's cycling. So the receiver's open, but sealed with rubber.
Okay.
So it's similar to the FN 2000. It has a rubber gasket around the inside of the magwell, so that it just, nothing can physically get past that. FN thought that was the way to go. Anybody who shot an FN 2000, they have a bitch and a half time, especially if it's a new gun. They have a hell of a time inserting and pulling mags out.
This also appears to be a piston gun.
It is a piston gun,
which contributes to the weight.
Yeah. It is a gas piston actuated complete upper assembly designed to interface with standard mil-spec AR-15 rails or AR-15 rifles. It does have an adjustable gas port. You were talking about that a little while earlier. They do offer it in 5.56, 7.62 by 3.9, and 300 blackout. But here's the thing. We sat on this for like a year. We've been trying to get a hold of one for almost a year, probably a little more than a year now, because we're trying to build out that Triad kit. A3 Tactical back then, A3 Industries now, gave us that Triad kit to tinker with, and we were excited to tinker with it, and then Faxon was like, we're not doing 300 blackout barrels. I even reached out to him a couple days ago just to touch base and make sure before we bought the 5.56 version, like, hey, do you guys have any plans to make the BAU, or the barrel assembly unit, in 300 blackout? Because the 300 blackout and the 5.56 ones, they share the same bolt face, so it's just swap a barrel and then you're good to go. Their response was like, yeah, nobody wants it, so we just stopped making it. It's still an option on their build your own rifle thing, but it's not in stock. So I've been wanting to do the 300 blackout for over a year now. It just hasn't been available. So I just said, screw it. We'll do the 5.56 one. I'd love to see, when we get to like disassembling this thing, I'd love to see if I can just make a 300 blackout barrel. Because it's piston, I think I'm going to have a lot of trouble with it. But until I get it apart and actually take a look at it, I can't really tell. If it's as simple as like the piston system comes off and then I could just turn a big bull 300 blackout barrel down to the correct journal size, cool, awesome. But I don't think it's that simple. But we'll see.
The advantages of such things is that 300 blackout is specifically designed and optimized to be fired out of short barrels,
yeah.
Whereas 5.56 and 223 and all of the variants of those cartridges are designed to be shot out of like a 20-inch barrel. So when you're shooting those cartridges out of a barrel this short, you're essentially just throwing some gunpowder out the front of the barrel, and it's just burning out here in the space in front of the muzzle, which creates a whole lot of bang and a whole lot of flash, which generally makes the weapons significantly more unpleasant to fire.
Unpleasant is probably the right word, because it's not like
it doesn't hurt
impossible.
anything, yeah.
It doesn't hurt more. It's just
nice.
as Ian McCullum likes to say, for the 8-inch 308, the HK51 or whatever, the G3.
It's a G3 variant.
The automatic flashbang dispenser.
Yeah.
This thing wouldn't be that bad, but it'll rock your world, especially if you're shooting indoors.
Oh yeah. Yeah, if you were to try and use this as a home defense gun, you would have to have a suppressor on it, or you'd have to have hearing protection on. If you tried to fire it without that, you're gonna rupture an eardrum.
You don't have to do it with that, but
if you don't want to rupture your eardrums, yeah, you absolutely will.
Maybe not deaf, but you'll have difficulty hearing.
You're going to be bleeding out of your ears.
Maybe not that bad.
Maybe not. Mm-hmm.
But maybe not. Yeah. That's not very...
Well,
ideally, that's not what I want to say when it comes to my health. Okay, so, purely from aesthetics and how it feels, it's got some good heft to it. Everybody knows that if it feels good, if it feels heavy, it's generally oh yeah, it's probably an okay thing. The machining looks excellent. I don't see any machine marks, so good on them. Yeah, that's plastic, so that doesn't count. Looks like that actually might be 3D printed, which is really cool. And everything else looks damn pristine. I don't know if it's worth $1,000, but all the machine work that they've done on it is excellent. I don't know if it's worth that, especially since we've got that Foxtrot mic. The only thing that's really, really cool is that, cool. I mean, that's nice. I like that. I like that more than any other upper that we've worked on. But I don't know if this is worth $400. We'll see how it shoots and go from there. I don't think the Foxtrot mic has an adjustable gas system. Do you know? Yeah,
it doesn't.
I was gonna say, so that's big. Is the Foxtrot
Apparently,
mic?
it's got an interchangeable barrel.
Yes, it does. The BAUs.
That's always more difficult and complex to make.
Yeah, and it looks like this. So it says it includes the BAU like tools, which is 2 Allen keys.
Yeah.
So tools, yeah, sure. BAU tools.
Fortunately, it doesn't say what the barrel is actually made of.
Yeah.
That does make a difference. If it's like a stainless steel barrel, that's a better barrel.
I don't think it's stainless steel.
Yeah.
If you look at the engraving, I don't know, the engraving doesn't look like stainless steel. Like when you burn through stainless steel, it always looks pretty much the same color. That looks yellowed, so that looks like it's just bare steel instead of stainless steel. But I also absolutely could be wrong.
Yeah, so it could be a better quality of barrel than you get.
Yeah, it is almost certainly a better quality barrel. Faxon makes excellent barrels. That's like the one thing that they do better than a lot of people. I just don't know if it's $400 more.
Yeah,
but we'll see. We'll get to
once we take it out and start running mags through it, and especially running mags through at speed, that's where flaws, defects, and things like that start to really show up. And if it doesn't have any of those, it should, like, this is actually a pretty smooth action. If it stays that smooth while we're using it, that's how you know you got something really good. It functions essentially the same as almost every other AR-15. The unique thing about it is just that it's flipped the recoil system to be up above the action instead of being behind the action, which dramatically shortens the system. Now, I personally am not a huge fan of really short barrels, but this also has a quick change barrel system where apparently you can just take these screws out, pull this bottom piece off, and take the barrel right out and put a longer barrel on it. That's apparently a fairly quick and easy swap to make. So you could go up to something like a 16-inch barrel like that.
They also do something in here that's really interesting. SIG, talk as much shit about SIG as you want. If you look at their MCX series, like their battle rifle, something that's also comparable to this. What they did that's super convenient, especially for people like gunsmiths and service members and stuff like that, all of the important parts are removable. So if you look at this is a billet of aluminum. Why do we have these screws here? It doesn't make sense. It's not holding anything. Until you look, you can see
the guide rails.
It's got guide rails, steel guide rails, which are replaceable. So that's super convenient.
Yeah.
Like the likelihood of you needing to replace them, almost zero. But if you did, you don't have to throw away the entire upper. SIG does the same thing for their brass deflectors, for their charging handles, like little sections. They got little steel inserts instead of aluminum. And those are normally held in by like roll pins or screws, and you just knock them out, replace the part. All good to go.
Yeah. And the steel parts will last a lot longer than if it's just part of the aluminum. On a standard AR receiver, those rails are part of the aluminum. So if you start running the gun real hard, shooting real fast, which most people will never do, but if you're talking about a service grade weapon, it has to be able to stand up to that kind of heavy usage. And aluminum stuff will start to wallow out as steel things are running across it. The aluminum will start to tear up over time. The steel will hold up a lot longer, and then the fact that when it's screwed in there, if it does start to wear out, you can literally just unscrew it and slap a new one in.
Yeah.
So that means they made it with 10,000 rounds in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, which is a great sign for why it's that extra $1.
Yeah.
The concept, excellent.
How's the execution?
Replaceable parts, that's always a good thing. It's always dumb when things that break very easily aren't easily replaceable. Think like an old Charter Arms freaking revolver. It is designed to be, it's Saturday Night Special, designed to be assembled in a factory on like a Friday afternoon for like 48 cents. And then you buy it for $24 and use it and then throw it in a river. God forbid you need to repair any parts on it. Speaking from experience, it sucks. Just nothing is designed to be reassembled. It's just held together just enough with bubble gum and duct tape. And it works, and then you got to get rid of it.
All right, so this is Thomas Doyle. I'm a gunsmith here for Racketback Armory.
And this is Sheridan Halfacre from Racketback Armory as well. Be sure to check us out on the Facebooks, on the YouTubes, on the stuff, and our website. That's up and running now. We're still tinkering with it, but www.ribagunsmithing.com, RIBA gunsmithing.com.